What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, joined, as always, for the second day in a row by my guy, my good buddy, my co-host, Damon Gray. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I haven't seen you in like 24 hours. It's been crazy. I don't know. What have you been doing over the last 24 hours, TJ?
So we'll get there when we get into What You Watchin', because believe it or not, I actually
we're doing What You Watchin'?
We're doing What You Watchin' again because I need to talk about Severance, because I watched 7 episodes of Severance last night in preparation for season 2, and I have now watched the entirety of season 1. And plus, we got these 2 great guests. We got to know what they're watching, Damon. You can skip it. You played some Marvel Rivals yesterday. That's about all you did.
Sure.
We're joined as well by my fellow TJ making his return to the pod, Fat Thor. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, dude. It is so good to be back on here. It feels like forever, which it has been forever. So I'm glad that life has allowed me to finally hop back on the pod, and I'm hoping to make it a regular occurrence again, because I miss all of you, and I miss everyone at home that watches and listens to us, because they are wonderful.
We just got the maybe this can be what we talk about on Damon's Happen What You're Watching, because we've been playing Marvel Rivals, and we just got the first official look at the Fantastic Four in Marvel Rivals. You can find it on the Agents of Fandom Twitter page, at Agents Fandom, on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom, everywhere else. The GOAT, Ryan Cortero, Ryan Reflects, got that out already. So we'll take a look at that in What You're Watching, because we, of course, have been playing some Marvel Rivals lately. But we got a very exciting guest today making his debut on the Agents of Fandom podcast. Frankly, this is my fault that it's a debut. I don't know how it slipped through the cracks for me to wait this long to get him on the show, but we got Sean from Metalcore Nerds from Collider. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi. So happy to be here. Very stoked to be here. And it's okay. It's okay. I'm just glad I'm here. It doesn't matter the when. It just matters that's happening now, I think. That's the most important. Yeah,
well, we got lots of exciting stuff coming up in the future with your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, Invincible, Daredevil, and so we're definitely going to be making it happen far more often here in the future. If you're watching us on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, help us battle the YouTube algorithm, build this community, get noticed. The only way we can do that is if you are smashing the like button, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, so you don't miss out on our future shows, like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, like when we're covering Invincible, like when we're covering Daredevil. I was just telling Fat Thor this off camera, some interviews lined up with Robert Kirkman for our Invincible coverage, so stay tuned for that, because we got some really exciting stuff coming, hopefully with some members of the voice cast as well. And of course, we still are covering Skeleton Crew each and every week, Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7 p.m. Pacific for the Skeleton Crew live right after the episode. So make sure you tune in for
Did
that
you just
as
say
well.
specific?
Specifically Pacific.
You said specific time.
It's still morning for me, Damon. It's not even noon here yet. Give me a break. I'm not going to waste my one F-bomb of the show on you right now.
Damon, always stirring trouble. It's only 4 minutes in.
I'm sure I did. I'm not denying it. I'm sure I did. But I'm still going to save my one F-bomb of the show for later, so I don't drop our ad suitability rating. But I might need it still later, especially in a show like Creature Commandos, where this is a pretty fun, pretty dark, pretty silly show. Let's have an edition of What You're Watching. Damon, we'll throw it to you first, because I know you've been playing some Marvel Rivals, and let's see if I can get this first look of Fantastic Four up on the screen here.
Because there's a character in there you may not expect, TJ, if you haven't seen it yet.
Who's in here?
Or you may expect, because there's a little bit of an MCU-ness to this. Herbie. I don't know if Herbie's gonna be a playable character. I assume not. Maybe.
No.
Maybe,
Why not?
Maybe,
Why not?
Maybe Herbie will be like a Sue Storm kind of like ability where she can like summon Herbie and Herbie can do things.
He's gonna be the new Jeff for sure.
Oh my god!
Of course, come on now.
Do we already know? Like, I know the Thing's obviously going to be the tank. I know Human Torch is obviously going to be a duelist. Do we know about Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic yet?
I mean, it has to be. Sue has to be like a support, and Mr. Fantastic has to be probably another Vanguard, I'd imagine.
I'm going to be I already know I'm going to be trying to get pretty good with Human Torch and Sue. Those are going to be 2 players I'm going to be looking to get to. Put a little force field up with Sue. Come on, that's going to be fun. What you watching? In case you don't know, if you're tuning in for the first time, we talk about we all do this for work, right? And so we talk about in our own time, if we're reading comics, if we're playing video games, if we're watching TV or movies, what are we doing in our own time for some fun? And for me, like I teased already, I watched the first 2 episodes of Severance a couple days ago, and then I watched the next 7 last night up until about 2 a.m. And that show is bonkers. I did not know what I was getting myself into. I thought it was like a very corporate business style show, and while it does have elements of that, it is so trippy and it's spooky. I can't believe how much the score and the sound effects in this show accent the intensity. And shout out to Ben Stiller for this great creation. It's a really, really strong episode of television. The people are right. The cliffhanger at the end is wild. And so I'm very excited that I waited until season 2 was about to come out for this one, as opposed to watching it years ago when it came out. And it was a really, really good show. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Make sure you check out agentsofandom.com for our coverage of season 2. I know both Garrett and Adam are going to be on that. So make sure you check out our Severance season 2 coverage coming soon in January here. Fat Thor, what comics you been reading? What you been watching? What you been playing? I know you mentioned some Black Ops.
Venom War and more Venom War.
Don't mention Venom War, dude. Don't mention Venom War. But unfortunately, I've had a lot of real life stuff come up the last couple of weeks, so I've been behind on literally everything. I haven't watched What If. I'm gonna expose myself right now to everybody at home. I watched today's episode of Creature Commandos, but I have not watched any other episode. And so I've been just on a backlog. What I did watch, though, and I loved Squid Games 2. I had to binge that because that was super good. And also, I haven't been on the show yet, but I got to shout out Skeleton Crew 2. That's got to be one of my favorites. Like I said, I'm behind on a lot of stuff, so maybe that could change, but that's one of my favorites that is coming out right now. I think it's so good. It's fun. It's exciting. So yeah, I'm loving that. And then, like you said, Black Ops. I'm gaming on some zombies. So if anyone out there is on some zombies, hit me up. Let's run it.
Running it back to Marvel Rivals really quick. I agree with some of the things in chat right now. We got Ryan talking about the moon in the Fantastic Four picture. It looks like it could be maybe teasing some Blade and teasing some Blood Hunt. Damon, you're the moon phase expert. What do you think?
Oh, yes. Yes, Blood Moon, Red Moon, of course. Yeah, maybe. The whole reason I brought up like the Blade and the Blood Hunt was because I was overhearing like a dialogue that Cloak and Dagger have a Spider-Man talking like, yeah, there's all these vampires in New York and Morbius came. And I'm like, that's Blood Hunt. And then they're like, people told me like, no, go read the lore in the game. I'm like, you want me to read in a game? Fine. So
you have to go and read all the lore because you get challenges off. Like you get achievements for reading the lore.
What?
Yeah.
You actually get achievements for reading in a game?
Yep.
That's wild. Okay, fine. I'll read more of it instead of just skimming through it. But yeah, there's
guy
like
that hosts a comic book podcast doesn't want to read.
That's why he reads comics. It's mostly pictures.
Yeah,
it tracks.
He doesn't even read the word bubbles. He just looks at the picture.
But I got maybe we are teasing some Blade going forward because we there have been leaks. We know what is possibly coming, what is most likely coming ahead, and Blade is definitely one of those characters coming up. So yeah, Fingers crossed. I am curious how Herbie's going to work, whether it plays around like a Spider Zero. Is it going to be like their own character? Is it going to be like a story map thing? I don't know. Let's find out.
I like what Chris said in chat, and you're going to push him around in a Fantastic Car payload, and that's going to be one of the challenges. Like how you have the Venom thing, how you have the goats. It's going to be a little Herbie in the Fantastic Car that you're pushing to the finish line.
That's fine with me. I kind of want another type of game mode going forward because there's really two. You have to capture the area, or it's move the car forward.
They're adding capture the flag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're apparently adding capture the flag. Anyway, that's enough about Marvel Rivals. If you want to talk more Marvel Rivals, check out our recent interview with Jeff the Landshark voice actor John Bailey. We dropped that last week. It's on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page, and wherever you get your podcasts, it's paired with our What If Season 3 finale reviews. So make sure you check that out. Sean, what have you been watching?
So much. There's so much, it's the holiday season. So now's the time to watch movies that you haven't watched all year. So that's what I've been doing. I did recently watch Severance, but that was a few weeks ago. But I was rewatching it in preparation for season 2 rather than watching it. I've been sitting on that cliffhanger like most people for years, and it's infuriating. But that's good TV. Good TV is a good cliffhanger. I did watch Squid Game season 2, as TJ mentioned too. Great show. Also, an insane cliffhanger too. I saw some people like confused by it, and I was like, "Did everyone forget how TV goes? You leave on a cliffhanger. That's what you do. That's how you end a season. That is how you end a season."
Great.
So I liked it. I liked how they ended it. Yeah, but some movies I caught up in. I watched Honora the other night. I watched Mild Ass last night, which surprisingly got me really emotional. I'm an emotional guy. I'm going to be honest. Movies make me cry a lot. TV shows too. I mean, Shrinking just ended, and that show.
Oh man, I was just going to say the Shrinking last 2 episodes. Like the finale was incredible, but it was actually the penultimate for me that just absolutely broke me.
Yeah, I wrote an article on the finale for Collider, so I rewatched the finale like 5 times, and I think it gets more emotional the more you watch it. So that was a rough time for me, just keeping watching it. I'm like, oh, if you watch the ending scene is like, the first time I watched it, I was so worried, and the way it ends is pretty beautiful. Not to ruin it for anyone. If you haven't watched Shrinking, go watch Shrinking. Anyone, just if you don't have Apple TV Plus, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, because I'm sorry, I swear. But because they have the best shows.
Wasted my one.
There's our one. There's our one. Oh, man. First time on the show, and you're already taking our F-bombs, dude.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. If anyone had to do it, I'm glad it was you.
I don't actually know that there is a 1 F-bomb rule, but as long as it's not right at the beginning or right at the end, it doesn't seem to affect our ads, so we're good.
Okay, cool.
Let them fly, gentlemen.
I got excited.
You're
speaking of Apple TV Plus, though,
it's a fun bit. That's all it was.
Speaking of Apple TV Plus, though, it is free this coming weekend. So if you don't have it,
yes,
binge watch.
Go watch everything on there.
Go watch Silo.
Go watch
Silo's
Shrinking.
great.
Go watch Ted Lasso. I can give Apple TV Rex for days.
We just do an episode on Apple TV shows, all the great stuff.
I would.
Yeah,
I've
Ted
watched
Lasso Shrinking podcast would just absolutely be a lot of fun, because man, is Bill Lawrence just maybe like the best TV writer doing it right now. He's just so
maybe
so
of all time up there.
Yeah, like like he's on the track. He's on the track for sure. It depends what we get in the future, I think, but he's definitely on the right track. That whole team: Brett Goldstein, Jason Segel for Shrinking, Jason Sudeikis, of course, for Ted Lasso. Shout out to Adam stopping by, saying hello in chat. He says everyone watch Silo and Severance. I did just finish Severance. Silo is next on the list. But today, we're not here to talk about the Apple TV shows. We're here to talk about a little show on Max in the States, on various different places internationally, Adult Swim / Teletoons / Stack TV here in Canada on Prime Video. Creature Commandos. And there's only 1 episode left after this one. We are on the penultimate, episode 6. Damon, we haven't talked about Creature Commandos in a while. You missed our last breakdown of it. Your theory was proven incorrect about Clayface. What are you thinking about this series so far with only 1 episode to go?
How dare DC tease that Clayface could be screwing around with several real-life people across multiple of platitudes of DC shows and they not actually pull the trigger on it? Gosh,
are they teasing it or are we teasing it?
I was going to say, I want to just bring everyone attention to the fact that Damon is now 0 for 2 on the Clayface theories. So I think you just need to give up on Clayface, dude.
No,
just wait for it to happen.
I will never give up on it. Penguin could still be screwing Clayface. It could still happen, ladies and gentlemen. We could still be getting there. All right, what I've been thinking about the show. I've been enjoying it. I've kind of said that each episode will give us like more of like a sadder realization, like the backstory of all these characters. I did not get that in the previous episode with Frankenstein because he's not really that sympathetic of a character in this universe, which is pretty interesting. Dr. Phosphorous, this episode, yeah, pretty sympathetic, but also to an extent. So I am very curious going up to the finale because I know James Gunn loves his ideas of like the secret hero, the secret heroine, secret protagonists behind a series. And maybe Mina is that for him because we are waiting all this time. We still don't know much about her until the finale next week. I assume we'll get that backstory. But I've been enjoying this. I've said that the show hasn't blown me away, but the last few episodes I've enjoyed pretty well. Like I've actually really enjoyed these last few episodes. So still fun, still a wild way to start the DCU. Like a crazy way to start the DCU. And who knows, maybe Cersei's vision comes to fruition. Maybe it doesn't because that Batman and a character that we saw in today's episode don't look exactly the same.
Very true. Very true. Fat Thor, did I hear you correct and say this is the first episode you've watched of this show?
I gotta be honest, man. I can't lie to the viewers. Yeah, I did. I will say I watched like the first 10 minutes of episode 1. So like I got to see like, okay, this is, new task force. Everyone, it's like I get the gist, right? So yeah, I hopped into episode 6 fresh. I just wanted to hang out with you guys. I'm sorry, man. I saw the opportunity to come hang out with some of my best friends. And I had to take it, but I enjoyed the episode a lot. Like coming in completely fresh, not having watched the rest of the season, I felt like I was able to jump in very seamlessly. I don't know what the hell they're doing with that castle, but I mean, it's like, okay, whatever, I'm rolling with it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's, excuse me, it's fun, violent, definitely gives me those kind of Invincible vibes a little bit. And I really like the characters. I think the characters are super interesting, especially this Dr. Phosphorous. Whoa, that was brutal. I wasn't expecting it to go that far. So I thought I like that they're pushing the line a little bit. And to Damon's point too about like this is a crazy way to start the DCU, I totally agree. But I also feel like that's just totally James Gunn. Like it feels like James Gunn. It's like that. It just feels like that's the move he was gonna play. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'm super excited to go back and watch the other 5 episodes.
That's what I was gonna ask. Did it hook you to make you want to continue with it? And it sounds like it did. So.
I would say like Damon, I won't say I'm like necessarily blown away. Like, oh my, like this is the best thing I've ever seen, but I really enjoyed it. And like I said, I'm definitely gonna go back, watch the other episodes.
Sean, 6 episodes in, each one has had this kind of backstory format. I really like the television formatting of this show with how it advances the plot with each episode while giving us the backstory for a different character with each weekly installment. This one we get Dr. Phosphorous. What have you thought of the series so far, and how do you like the format?
I really like the format. I think it's a really good way to tell the story that's going on while introducing us to all these new characters. It feels a lot like a comic book just brought to life. Like that's literally what it feels like. And I'm wondering, everyone's saying I'm not blown away by this. And I'm wondering if it's because it's so James Gunn and we've seen the James Gunn thing now for a number of years that it just the fact that it's what we expect from James Gunn. Maybe that's why people aren't blown away, because I'm not blown away with it. I just think it's good. But like I expected a James Gunn project to be good. So there's like no surprise there. The one thing that has been very surprising to me, and I think that has shown a lot of promise for the DCU as a whole, is the way he's slowly world building with just these like little scenes or little mentions or anything like that. That stuff that he's done in the series, I think, is incredible, because every single episode has had some little tidbit that expands not the show but the universe at large. Even the Batman scene we see in this, he broke down that whole scene for Rotten Tomatoes, so it's on their YouTube channel now. You can check it out, and he talks about the whole thing. And you mentioned how the two Batmans we saw look different, and he said when they originally showed him the design, you could see a lot more of the costume, and he's like, nope. He's like, I don't want to be married to a design yet because I haven't decided it, so just silhouette that as much as you can. But I love that it looked like a classic, like Batman the Animated Series, like the Dark Knight, the lightning going by. I was like, let's go, this is amazing. Like, I was like, I love this. And I weirdly think it kind of confirms, there's that big rumor going on that Robert Pattinson might be the DCU Batman and stuff like that. I don't think he's going to be it. I've gone back and forth over the last 2 weeks because the more stuff comes out, you know, the Batman 2 getting delayed, the Brave and the Bold kind of being like up in the air. I'm like, oh, are they really going to put the two together? But I don't think so. And I think it's mostly because I think the type of Batman they want to put in this world is going to be so different age-wise and tone-wise than Pattinson's Batman. And I think this episode might have confirmed that. I might be speaking crazy. You know, you might look back on this in 2 months and be like, well, he was really wrong. But I don't know. I get that vibe, but I think the show is awesome. And they did show a sneak peek for the finale, and it definitely is Nina's backstory is going to be the last backstory. Also, Weasel. I never thought I would love that weirdo creature, but I love him so much. And this episode only furthered that love. I'm like, he's just like a little dog. Like, I love him. I love this guy.
I'm always
and
a fan of like the weird little freaks.
And it does seem they confirm that connection. TJ, you got a glimpse of this, but you didn't see it because you didn't see the episode. But TJ, his backstory is the most tragic. It is like heartbreaking how tragic Weasel's backstory is. But there's a girl involved with his backstory that seems to be the princess. They seem to confirm it this episode, or maybe he just thinks that himself. But I think that's going to provide an interesting dynamic for the finale, because I think he's going to try and protect her, obviously, and they're sent there to kill her. So we'll see. And I'm also really sad you didn't see the vision that Cersei. You don't even know who Cersei is. Gee, you know, you might.
I saw her in the first 10 minutes. Yeah, I know who she is.
Okay. She creates like a vision that Amanda Waller sees, and it's wild. It's wild.
Like I said, I'm excited. That's probably what I'm going to do today after I finish up my writing and all that. Catch up on Creature Commandos and What If.
Yeah, you can say that one for last.
And you can get to What If whenever. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you can only do the
Kate Bishop
episode. That's all you need to watch.
Yeah. I just need to see Storm in that Thor armor, and I'm good. I'm out.
I wish we could have seen how she got there. But Damon, this Dr. Phosphorous backstory is dark. Like, he starts out as a real kind of like redeemable looking character. And then it just goes down, and it goes down, and it goes down, and it goes down. And man, he's gone through some tough times. I did really like we'll get to that part later. What did you think about Phosphorus' backstory here?
I thought Phosphorus' backstory was good. A nice little twist on more of like the accident that he had and more of like the pure torture of it all, you know, a little bit more sympathetic, but then you could also see how he just completely spiraled out of control in this iteration of Phosphorus. And I think that's something that James Gunn in this particular show is good in. And what Sean mentioned before, like not being blown away, but still enjoying it. I think it's because the plot here is pretty straightforward. It's a pretty simple plot. Going ahead. We got to kill the prince. Well, we got to save princess. Oh, crazy vision. We got to kill the princess, right? Nothing crazy. But what the show does really well is it's character driven. It's not really plot driven. It's character driven. And episodes and moments like this really show that. So you have a little bit of like sympathy for Phosphorus, but then you could also be like, yeah, he's also not the best person, but I get it, right? So his whole backstory, like I said, slightly changed from like his comic iteration of himself, which was more of like an accident instead of like a straight up like, oh no, we're trying to kill this dude type of thing. Tragic, interesting, but I liked it.
Sean, how about you?
Yeah, very similar to what Damon said. It's just like a good, sad backstory. And I like how, I mean, I think that's the good point of the show, is that we're showing these kind of unhuman like creatures that are labeled as monsters, but the whole point of the show is showing them they're human too in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? They all have feelings, they all have human tendencies, they all have a shot. They should have a shot at being like a normal human, I guess. And what an interesting character. And I he seems like one of the most unhinged members of the group, and I kind of love that. And I love how the origin of it showed how he kind of quickly gained control of his powers, because at first you see he has like no control and he's just melting everything in sight as he's walking and everything like that. And then you see him quickly just be able to control it, because I mean the dude has, you see him in the beginning go out of a dumpster and he has like garbage on him and he's not burning it. He has clothes on that he's not burning. So to show like his kind of level of control of his powers is a really cool thing too. And we saw kind of his powers in full display last week when he just annihilates so many soldiers. So many soldiers in brutal fashion. And I do like how the show just, it is not holding anything back at all.
Not even a little.
Faces get ripped off and it's crazy.
I think
there's a nipple
because...
for. We see a nipple in one episode.
Oh yes, we do.
No
we do.
Way.
I think it's also though because I think it's also because TJ, this is the character who possibly lost the most. I think he essentially lost everything. He lost his job, he lost his family. So the reason he is kind of just like this character who in this episode we see flipping the bird going through this truck killing people, which by the way was like a hilarious visual. Like we talked about, this is a very James Gunn show. That is like one of the most James Gunn visuals the show has given us. So I think this is a character that you absolutely need on this team, who is very unserious about it all, cracking jokes, because he lost everything.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Fat Door, what did you think about this? Has been the style essentially throughout the whole series, with one character being featured throughout. What did you think about Phosphorous' backstory, where you dive in for the first time, you get to see Batman?
Yeah, I mean, crazy. Having not watched the show up until now, I was surprised at how far they went with it. You know, again, similar to kind of Invincible. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we're going to bring this point up a lot with this episode and just this series. But again, it just feels like a very James Gunn style trope, which I personally really love. And that is making you fall in love with the weirdos, with the, weirdos, the people who are kind of on the fringes of society. And I think that he is just so good at making you, or letting the audience kind of peer back, like, why is this person the way they are? And then balancing that just like tragedy with fun and action and heart. So again, that I just felt James Gunn to me, classic trope that he loves to do, but something that I personally love. And I thought he did a fantastic job with Phosphorous. And I'm sure it's very similar with the other characters. But yeah, man, I mean, just brutal. And I also want to bring up the point again, just kind of as we're talking about it, I think it made me realize it even more. But Damon's comment about it feeling, or maybe it was Sean, but it feeling like a comic book, like each episode. And I totally feel that, which again, I just jumped in on this fresh. But from this episode, I understood we're finding this princess. We need to kill the princess. Cersei had this vision about the world ending. So it's like, I feel like they're doing a really good job giving you all the information you need, and even kind of giving you a little recap of what happened either last week or earlier, while still, like, I never felt like we were recapping. Like, it felt like we were still moving forward. So yeah, I mean, thumbs up all around for me.
One of the most fun parts of the episode for me was seeing Bride and Nina save the brothel from the Craik brothers, I believe their name was. I just like Bride kicking ass. That's one of my favorite things in this show, is anytime Bride just gets to beat the shit out of some people. What do you think, Damon?
I think it's funny that this show did essentially what a lot of Marvel television shows do, and by the end of it, we have a new costume for Bride.
Yeah.
Like that was like my big takeaway. I was like, yeah, we got a new costume. Sell more toys. But that whole scene, I thought it was interesting, but it didn't play out the way I expected it to. I thought Bride maybe by the end would come away slightly different, and she really didn't at all. She just went in there. She saw that like the people in the brothel were, getting taken by the Craig brothers, who were just very easily handled. Like they really upped the power on these monsters, and that's something James Gunn mentioned. Is like you'll see the power levels of this universe, and like Sean mentioned before, it's already building the world. Like metahumans are a thing. They're metahumans go into a brothel, and they're like, oh, metahumans. Okay, it's not like this big like thing. They're like, yeah, you're here too. You just can't use your powers. So that's the world building, the subtle world building that James Gunn has done, not just in this series, but in this episode in particular.
It's a really good point, Sean. What do you think about Bride's character in general? Are you as sorry, this dog is really wanting to make an appearance on the show. What did you think about Bride and Nina's story in this one? Taking out the brothel, kind of like a little bit of a side quest en route to the big battle in the epic finale.
Yeah, a little bit of a side quest. And yeah, I think Bride's going to turn around maybe a little more in the finale, I would imagine. The most I've thought in all of the action scenes, like she might be the strongest one of the bunch, because she went hand to hand with Cersei, who's from Themyscira and wields magic. Like that's impressive as hell for her to be able to do that and like stand toe to toe with her. I like from that episode, I was like, whoa, okay, she's the real deal. And I can't wait to see her in live action, and I can't wait to see how these characters are integrated in live action too. Like I know we talked about Frankenstein and how kind of awful he is. He's just terrible. It's a terrible. Yeah,
much different iteration of Frankenstein than some comic fans maybe used to.
Yeah. Way different. I kind of like that. I kind of like how they flip kind of both their stories on its head and gave us this kind of like fresh version of it. But seeing, I can just imagine David Harbour in prosthetic makeup just being Frankenstein live action. I can't wait for that either. But I like the Bride. I think she's kind of one of my favorite characters of the series a little bit. It's hard because it's like Weasel is up there again, but he doesn't talk, so it's hard, but you still connect with this weird creature somehow. James Gunn also really good at that, at making you connect with the strangest creatures of all time. But yeah, the Bride is cool, and I'm stoked to see more about Nina's backstory next episode. And I like how they've included her in seeing her like bond with a lot of like her and G.I. Robot had like a really interesting relationship that did not have a good ending for now, at least. I guess he is a robot after all, so I'm sure he could come back. I don't know.
Hey, if we'll see. Come back, so can G.I. Robot.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I know there's many versions in the comics of G.I. Robot, so
no one's ever.
Maybe we'll get another one.
No one's ever truly in the comic book universe. That's absolutely correct, Fat Thor.
You're right.
What were some of your favorite parts of this episode, Fat Thor? Getting to see Nina beat up some dudes in a brothel. I feel like this was a really like fast-paced, just sort of get everything in place for the finale kind of episode.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel like there was a low point for me. I loved the action. Like you said, I liked the brothel scene just because, kicking ass. That's my bread and butter. I love it. I loved the Frankenstein scene. I thought that was really, having not seen him before, really enjoyed it. I like David Harbour too. So like just as an actor. So I loved hearing his voice in there. But honestly, I think my favorite part of the episode was Dr. Phosphorous with that little girl. Like just like that whole, like not even the whole like I like the whole backstory, but just those scenes I thought were so good. And again, kind of hit that, heart angle to it. And this is very small, but it put a smile on my face. So the country that they're in obviously is like made up. I'm assuming it's supposed to be similar to like Poland, but the language she's speaking is like very Balkan, so like Serbian, Bosnian, and my girlfriend's family is from Bosnia. So like when she comes down and says "Ja sam gladan," that means like I'm hungry, right? And I don't know, that was just a cool little touch, brought a smile to my face. I thought that was cool that they kind of put the extra effort in to get that right. And when she says "Priyata skelet," that means skeleton friend. So I just thought, again, just a nice little touch to add there. So yeah, that was my favorite stuff.
Heck yeah, that's very cool. I'm happy that you shared that because that's not something that I would have caught. I think the Phosphorous scene with the little girl, it kind of portrays the heart of what story for all of these characters, and that's they've been through some really, really terrible shit. They've done some really, really terrible shit, but they're not necessarily terrible at their core. At their heart, there is goodness in there. It's just
except Frankenstein.
They've been through, except for Frankenstein. He has no heart. He's just the worst. Damon, one of the last things I want to touch on from this episode is that speaking of people never dying, Rick Flag's still around. He's just sitting there.
Of course,
in the hospital. We knew he was going to be. We discussed that last time. Is like I guess that on the episode you weren't on was we know he's going to be showing up in Superman. We think Superman is after Creature Commandos. What's going on? And so yeah, he's making his recovery in the hospital right now.
Yeah, we've seen these characters go through worse. I mean, Peacemaker's still alive, and it didn't surprise me at all. You're not going to bring Frank Grillo back again and then kill him again, unless if you have a plan to bring him back, which you already do. Now, when it comes to like the timeline sort of thing,
like, way too much Marvel Rivals. I just got so scared that the Winter Soldier was going to shoot me when he was saying again.
Oh my goodness. I think one of the most interesting things when it comes to like a timeline of it all, I think whenever we talk DC going forward, we need to remind people about what James Gunn said specifically, which is that this is more of a Star Wars type timeline, TJ. Like we can go back in time, we can go forward in time. We're just going to tell the story that needs to be told. We'll find a way to fit it into our timeline, but it's not going to be like Marvel or the MCU where it's one thing directly leads into the next thing, which directly leads into the next thing. We're just going to find a way for things to work, which is why for a long time, I don't think this is the case anymore. It's why for a long time, I thought the Superman movie was going to be a tale of Lois telling like young John the story of his dad type of thing. And like, this is the legacy of Superman. That obviously isn't the case anymore, but that door is still open because of like the Star Wars-y type of timeline. Like we could just go back and forth and whatever.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Sean, any final thoughts from the episode and things you're hoping for in the finale?
I know a lot of people have seen the entire series, and a lot of people say the finale is surprising. And I don't know how surprising it's going to be, and I'm very curious to see what this surprise is, and kind of, I know it already got renewed for season 2, which in press James was very coy about. I mean, obviously they needed to see if people watched it first before they could renew it. That's obviously a big factor, as we've seen with Star Wars or, I guess MCU projects. They think they just do whatever they want with those, but for Star Wars specifically. So, I mean, they need to see people watched it first, and obviously people definitely are and enjoying it, by a loud majority for sure. And yeah, I just don't know where this finale is going, and that's exciting. It can go one or two ways. That can be exciting or terrible, but the fact that I have no idea how this can kind of end up is good. I mean, and you brought up Rick Flag being, he got baned by Clayface last episode. Brutal. I was like, they just really just break his back, and then when they said they broke his back, I was like, wow, they really did the whole thing. Good for them. Nice. And not only is he in Superman, he's in Peacemaker next year too. Like, I don't think Rick Flag's going anywhere. He feels, even Frank Grillo himself has kind of compared it to him being like the Nick Fury of the DCU in ways. So it definitely seems like it's, and the way he explained it makes it seem like it's kind of in chronological order, because
he's not the Nick Fury. He's the Wong.
He is a more of a
I mean, that's even better.
Yeah, Amanda Waller is more
even better.
of it all.
Yeah, like he's for sure. Like he's
true.
gonna be the guy that like shows up different places connecting things. He's the Wong for sure.
Because, and I don't know if this spoils anything for the episode, but Frank Grillo said himself, so I feel kind of safe saying it. But he says in Superman, he is the head of Argus. So that means he takes over Amanda Waller, possibly in the finale, even though he's kind of in a coma. So I don't know if that happens in the finale. Maybe not. I like we said, Peacemaker got a building dropped on him, and he lived and just fine. So.
Great.
Okay, you know? Well, I do like how they even showed he's a normal person.
But I've seen it, so I'm not going to reply to that.
Okay.
Feel free to continue.
Fair. I know how that feels, and good on you. And yeah, I don't know what's good, but I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see if it, and I'm not one of those people that gets upset if it doesn't connect to the next thing or whatever. I believe TV shows should definitely be their own thing. But if there is kind of like a tidbit of what's going to come, I know there is one post-credit scene. James Gunn confirmed that as well. So if it does lead into something, I guess my biggest question has been, and it really became clear to me in this episode, and I'm guessing it's because she's now Team Peacemaker, but I'm confused to why Economos is still working for Waller, but no one else is. Like, why did he come back? And like Harcourt isn't there, and maybe we'll get more answers in Peacemaker season 2, I believe. But I find it strange that like Economos like went back and is still there, but like where's everyone else?
He's reluctant. He goes wherever he's told.
I was gonna say, I can see him just being like the guy, like, well, she paid me. I don't know. Like, she said she'd pay me. Like, whatever. Like, I don't care.
They could also be doing like field work because he's clearly still with an injury, like with the crutch.
True.
So they could all be doing like field work, and he's like, I'm back in the office.
And they did, I guess, even though this isn't canon anymore, but like Harcourt was seen in the Shazam post-credit scene, was seen in Black Adam. It seemed like even in the before times, they were setting her up to have a larger kind of role and that kind of stuff. So that's a very good point. She's probably just off doing cooler things.
I had literally nothing to do with that. I don't know why they were doing that. That's just so funny to me. Like,
Shazam? What's that?
Trying to make big world connections right until the very end.
Dude, I was like, oh man, let's go.
Said, like, all of Peacemaker's canon except for that Justice League scene at the end,
which is so easy to retcon.
Yeah, you just have it as a dream.
Yeah, a dream. He was delusion. He got hit in the head. Something like
yeah. And he did say they do explain it in some way, which I'm. Okay, I love James Gunn, and I kind of take whatever he says, and I think he is a pretty straightforward guy, especially as like a studio head and stuff. But I do remember him also saying that the Flash was going to explain why we're in a new universe, and I guess it kind of did, but not really. I guess it kind of could have explained how Ezra Miller is in a different universe, I guess, but I didn't walk out of the movie and go, oh yeah, it all makes sense.
It all makes sense.
In a different universe, far, far away that we will never touch ever again.
What I've realized is that with James Gunn, and this is actually something I talked to Sean Gunn about when I was when I met him at a fan expo, and he said like James goes out of his way to not lie on social media when he's asked these questions. So if he's not answering something, it's because he doesn't want to give anything away. He can't say yes or no without revealing something else. And so he leaves it. But anytime he can give a true answer, he tries to, so that misinformation isn't spread. But I find the one place where he's not necessarily the most reliable is in the promotion of DC products. You know what he was talking about? Like, the Flash is actually really good. The Flash is
I was
great.
just gonna say that. I'm a James Gunn fanboy like Sean is here, but I gotta be honest, when he said that about the Flash, that brought me down a little bit. I was like, I trusted you with everything, man, and I don't know anymore. Like, that's a wild statement.
But also as the new studio head, he can't be like, I've seen the Flash, and it's okay.
It's all right.
It's a movie.
He called Creature Commandos at New York Comic Con the best thing he's ever written, which I think this show is really good, but I think Guardians 1 and 3 are tough to compare a movie to a TV show, but mountains ahead kind of thing, you know, like I do think maybe a little hype, as he should, like you said, Sean, as he should as a studio head, a little bit of hyperbole promoting their products, but in terms of factual stuff, he's correct and on the ball and very straightforward with that.
For sure.
Anything else from anybody before I start doing the conclusions and wrapping us up?
I think this has just been a really fun show. I am curious after people saying you cannot expect what the finale of the show will bring, because I don't know, there really hasn't been anything like overly surprising in this show from just like a plot standpoint. So unless if there's like some huge twist reveal at the end, then I don't know. Like my biggest question would be, do you think they actually kill the princess or not?
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe. TJ can't answer, so
this is how it feels when I ask for a theory and people are like, I don't know. Now you're in my shoes.
I feel like that would be like surprising. I mean, I don't know anything with what's going on, but it's like I feel like a lot of people are probably hoping that they're not going to kill her. Like, I'm sure across their journey, they have grown as people and they're like, oh, maybe this isn't so cool, but they're going to do it. They're going to do it in the end. That's my theory.
Yeah, it's hard when the bride seems very set on completing this mission, and I wouldn't want to be one to get in her way, because I think she's going to try to succeed at any means necessary. It's hard though, because I mean, she has a crazy army, and now Frankenstein is going to be in the mix. And like I said, I think the Weasel dynamic is going to be something to watch, because I think he's going to try and protect her too. Which, if they kill Weasel at the end of this, I'm going to be so upset. After I saw the Suicide Squad, I would never thought I would say that, but here I am.
The most surprising way that would just get everyone to go WTF, because remember, this is essentially a Suicide Squad, but with monsters. They all have little bombs in their head. At any moment, Amanda Waller, if they decide to say, we're not going to go through with this, all can say, fine, boop, and they all go away.
Yo.
And then there you go, season 2. You have all new monsters to deal with the problem.
Yo, that would be crazy. I mean, I'm not even doubting
so
it.
Upset.
Honestly, I could see it. I could see that happening.
I could see it.
That would
be
really
so upset.
Get people to really, truly hate Amanda Waller. And like, look, I really love Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. She is perfect casting. Like, casting that is that character. She is Amanda Waller. Like, the fact that DC already has that going into like this new universe, to be fair, taken from the old DCU, taken from one of the worst projects of the old DCU, right? And they already have that, and they can at least be like, well, people didn't
Viola
like a lot
Davis
of
in the first Suicide Squad. Viola Davis as Amanda Waller in the first Suicide Squad was Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic in New Mutants.
Yes.
Just like, oh, they nailed it. This movie, not so much. But that casting, they nailed
it. They did make her a terrible person. But yeah, that casting is just superb. So I know we are supposed to possibly still maybe getting that Waller show. Could you imagine getting that Waller show after she does something like as terrible as you fall in love with all these characters, almost all of them, because I don't know how many people really fell in love with Frankenstein, especially after last episode. But then they all just go, boom. Oh, actually, he doesn't even have a trigger in his head, so he'd be the only one alive.
Frankenstein leads the Creature Commandos in season 2. But we got some theories. We'll be back covering the season finale next week, Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern time. We'll also be talking Skeleton Crew right after the show airs on Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So make sure you tune in for that one. We got some fun guests joining us Tuesday. I got to confirm here quick before the weekend, but I believe we should have Aaron Perrine from the Phase Hero podcast, as well as Jack Puce from the Reckless Rebellion podcast joining us for that one. and we're going to have a lot of fun. So hit the notification bell, subscribe, make sure you're smashing that like button so you can help us combat the YouTube algorithm, grow this community. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. We got a lot of really great stuff coming to the website with Severance coverage, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and more. And then coming to the podcast as well. Next show we're covering your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, then Invincible, then Daredevil Born Again, plus some movies like Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolt, Superman, Fantastic Four, all mixed in the first half of this year. Wow. Well, first half-ish. We're going to have a lot of fun in 2025. You can catch Damon and Fat Thor up on the Comic Corner podcast each and every week. Sean, where can the people find you on socials? And you have any pieces coming to Collider that you want to plug here as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can find the Mail Corners podcast on all socials at Mail Corners. Go to mailcorners.com. All the links are there in one easy place to find. And yeah, I have a few Creature Commandos articles up on Collider. I got a few Silo ones coming after the finale. I'm meticulously going through the finale once again. So I got a few of those coming out. Yeah, I got a bunch of them up there now. Some on Skeleton Crew, some on Daredevil Born Again. I'm sure I'll have a ton on Severance once that comes along. I'll be pitching my little heart out, trying to get as much Severance coverage as possible because I love that show to no ends. But yeah, if you just go to Collider, you can search my name, Sean Mott, and you can find my articles there. Check them out.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Follow awesome. Core Nerds on socials as well as wherever you get your podcasts. Smash the like button on your way out if you have not done so yet. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. On behalf of myself, Damon, Fat Thor, and Sean, we will see you next time. Peace out.